that kind of ties into the next point what I wanted to bring up was about the social connections and how that's going to look in our current environment. I was listening to something yesterday where they said that school right now is all vegetables and no dessert. So it's like all the learning is the vegetables, but the dessert and the stuff that, whenever you talk to students, and I'm sure that everyone that wants to get back in the building is like, I miss my friends, I miss the human interactions, I miss all that kind of stuff. Like that's where kids are coming back into now. So what kind of advice can you give on like reestablishing these social connections and like remembering that it's like we're in masks, we're 6 feet apart, when we're eating lunch, which is like the main social time, you're like basically you're eating and you're out of there. Like it's not going to be the social avenue that it was in the past. Like even you might not even have your friends here because they're at the different part of the alphabet. So, I think what can you kind of help students with or kind of advise students with, like when they come back, it's not going to be the social atmosphere that it was previously, but I think a lot of people are going to be craving that kind of interaction with like their peers or even adults or, even the hall monitors that have, they haven't seen, like these adults that they were used to seeing every day, they haven't seen in months. So what kind of advice can you give to students on reestablishing those social connections?
So I would say that, I'm in the position, so, you talked about there being two of us, but, it's, in some ways it's 1.5 because I'm at the high school halftime and I'm at an elementary school halftime, which is actually where I am right now. And I think that I've seen kind of that, I have a 1.5 or 2 months of seeing what in-person hybrid instruction can look like socially for students. And I think that there are still opportunities to connect with one another, but that they look and feel different. So there's still chances to collaborate in class. There's still like breaks from class where you can talk a little bit and things like that. But it does feel really different. For me, an advantage that folks at the high school have that we don't have here in elementary world is that there are sports and clubs and things like that you can join after school. And I think that one piece of advice that I would have is part of making a school feel more like it's your school is being involved in something that you're passionate about. Right. So, even as an adult, like a thing that I'm passionate about is being a strong ally for like the LGBTQ community. So that's how I got involved in GSA. Or, there are plenty of people who are passionate about whether it's athletics or art or like gaming or whatever. Like finding some way to connect with people, and definitely like taking the time to like have those social interactions, whether they're in class or in a club or whatever, in a way that's like safe, right, in terms of social distancing and stuff, but in a way where you're still, reconnecting with other people. I've certainly talked to a lot of people that like adults who aren't really able to get the type of conversation they want happening remotely in like a Zoom meeting. So I think that being back in a classroom will, even if you're talking like within the structure of a class, will like have more of a feeling of like I'm like with people and talking with people rather than kind of staring at a screen and hoping that nobody calls on me or whatever.
Yeah, and I think there's opportunities. There will be opportunities, I think, in school for those connections. But outside of school, or on the bus, like those are times when, or like at the bus stop, like there are opportunities there where you can still be talking to other people, and it's not as much about, I think the main thing to remember is you don't know what everybody's circumstances are surrounding how isolated they've been. Some people have been more lax than others, unfortunately. And so you don't know, maybe somebody has someone who's very high risk in their family, so they have had to be, much more isolated in there. Maybe they really haven't seen anybody. And then you have people who maybe have been. And so everyone's coming in from a different level of comfort and talking to other people.
I feel like you were kind of getting at that you need to sort of appreciate that like people are going to be coming in all different places socially. There are people who like have been at the school every day in the fall for marching band or fall sports or whatever. And then you have folks who might have like only talk to people remotely since March, basically. And I think coming back from that can like take some getting used to. So, like as a student and also like as adults, like trying to keep in mind like that people have not had the same experience of COVID and quarantine and everything else that you have, and that might affect you socially.
And I know some people will create like their own pods, like families who know each other, who kind of know each other's patterns, will create these pods where, that families are okay with certain interactions, but that's all usually discussed behind the scenes. So there's opportunities in school and out of school. Face-to-face is much more, is more preferred in a lot of cases. But
do you have any, just to kind of tie up the loose ends on that one, do you have any suggestions? What if I'm a kid that is staying remote? So now I have my friends some of my friends might be back in the building, but I'm still at home due to different circumstances. Is there any sort of different way that, obviously it's kind of reaching out through all the different forms of technology that we have, and maybe kids are seeing each other outside of school as well too, but do you feel that the people that are remote are at any sort of disadvantage, like in the social connections phase of this, not necessarily academics, but like socially? If I'm like somebody at home, is there something maybe additional that I should be doing, or a disadvantage, or maybe even an advantage that they can contact people more easily? I'm just trying to think about our kids that might not ever come into the building at all during the whole school year, and kind of how they can establish those connections as well too.
I mean, I think that I think it probably depends on the person. I think for some people it will be a disadvantage because you're just not having as many like incidental interactions, right? Like I remember being in high school and there's a whole sort of like type of person that you're like friendly with, but maybe not friends with exactly, where you're not going to keep in touch with them when you're not in school, but that you're still, you still like them and like seeing them in school and things like that. So I think you miss out on a lot of those kind of like incidental interactions. But at the same time, I think that people rely on things like whether it's social media or texting or talking on the phone or like video chatting or FaceTime or whatever to kind of like supplement that. So if you're already somebody who spends a lot of time connecting with people socially like that, I think that you can still can still have this like well-rounded experience. I think if you're somebody who tends to keep them to themselves more, you may have to be more mindful or more deliberate about going and connecting with people if you're not kind of in the building and incidentally seeing lots of people. Not lots of people. A medium safe number of people.
Yeah, the recommended amount of people that are allowed in here at one time.
Right.
So I appreciate all the time you guys have taken. I have one final question to tie up to kind of get kids back thinking about like school and all the responsibilities that they have. And it was about goal setting. And what I've kind of been telling people is like controlling the controllables. So you can't control, what other people are doing right now. You can only kind of control your own lot and, wearing your mask, coming in, however if you're hybrid or online only, or, how they're doing it. So, I know you talk with students a lot about these ideas about goal setting and how to, kind of take control of what your academic and social kind of situation is. So as we're kind of coming back here next week and we're already almost a quarter of the way through the school year, which is crazy to think that it's gone that fast. But if you were going to kind of tell people how to readjust themselves or get themselves ready for the rest of the school year, maybe they weren't as successful in the online, or maybe they're, really excited to get back in. So what can you give students as kind of, and parents kind of tips or strategies on like goal setting and controlling those things that they really have control over?
My first thought would be think about your schedule. So when COVID hit, we had a routine. We had something that we fell back to, and all of that got upended, and we created these new routines at home. And you think about the students who they used to have to wake up maybe an hour before their bus would come, and then they have to maybe get something to eat, to get a shower, get dressed, get to the bus stop on time. And now it's like, oh, I can roll out of bed maybe 15 minutes before class. Now, maybe some people are still kept to that routine, which is ideal. But now we're going to be coming in with people changing those routines back and having to readjust to the way it was before twice a week.
Yeah.
So it really goes back to keeping things consistent for yourself and stopping and reflecting on what do I need? What do I need as I move forward and I prepare to go back into hybrid? Where's my level of anxiety? What are the things that I'm worried about? And have a little bit of patience with yourself. Just know that how am I going to approach social? Like, have a plan. Like, how am I going to approach socializing in school? How am I going to, do I need to do something for my own mental health? Do I need to, start exercising? Do I need to eat better? Just think about what you need to be healthy and what you have control over. And if you need help or you're struggling to get through assignments or tasks or anything that you're presented with academically, don't be afraid to reach out for help and from your teachers, from your counselors. Like, express, like I said, this is a wound that's healing for everyone, and everybody is coming with an understanding and are going to try to be very patient and empathetic with you coming back in. So you need to have that patience and empathy for yourself as well.
Yeah, I would agree that I think a lot of just in general coming back has to do with being kind to yourself, right? Like, I think there are many learners who like really are used to crushing it at school and who have challenges with hybrid or remote learning that they wouldn't normally have, or people who struggle at school who struggle even more learning hybrid or remote. I think that trying to be patient with yourself, like trying to I talk to a lot of folks, whether they're students or adults or whatever, who are really, really patient with other people or really, really kind to other people, but really struggle to show that same patience for themselves, right? So they'll say, like, and a conversation that I'll have with them might be something to the extent of, like, they may be feeling dumb or stupid or a failure, and I'll say, well, if someone you cared about had a bad grade in English or a C in English, would you think that they were dumb? I'll say no, and I'll be like, well, why does that, like, why do you play by different rules, right? So I think just like having the patience with yourself to say that that like what is being asked of you right now by the world that you live in can be challenging, and that it's okay if you need help that maybe you didn't need before the pandemic happened. So I think in terms of like setting goals, like meeting yourself where you are now in October of 2020 rather than thinking about where you were in February of 2020, and approaching yourself as somebody who may have new needs that you didn't have before, and being kind to that person as somebody who deserves the same help as everybody else.
I think that's a really great message to end on, is like, we're in October, we're not in March. We can't snap our fingers and go back to March 12th, and then March 13th will be the next normal day. So I think it's a great thought to end on here with, we are where we are, and we have to move forward from there and kind of establish our goals to go with that. So if I'm a student or a parent and I'm trying to get more resources or contact either of you, what's the best way to go about doing that?
Definitely email.
Yeah, definitely email, which our emails are on the website. And also, we have a school site corner in the Wellness Wednesday site that the counselors put out. And there's a lot of helpful resources on there that we put on in September and October, and we're going to continue adding as the months go on. So definitely check those out, because there's some useful tools that can help during this time as well.
Yeah,
for parents and for students.
Yeah, and we try to keep it short, and we try to keep it really applied. So it's not, a chance for you to learn about how difficult the world is. It's more of a chance of like, here's a short list of things you can do to help yourself out in the next 10 minutes.
I think for this month, we included apps that are really helpful, and just to kind of monitor yourself and keep yourself in check. So.
Yeah, there's so many great resources that are being provided right now. So it's, there's just so many people that are looking out for the students' best interest. And hopefully when everyone starts back up next week, we have lots of different issues that we're going to overcome, and students' mental health and all the other things they're coming back with is a major one. So thanks a lot for Dr. Pinho and Mrs. Cignarella for joining us today. And good luck to everything next week and for the remainder of the school year. I have a feeling that you will be extremely busy in the next couple weeks. So hopefully, students feel very comfortable coming to you guys and kind of discussing everything that's been going on. So thanks a lot for joining us today.
Thanks, Dr.
Thank you.